let's now work on an inventory system. So we created placeholder names for objects. Now we need a way to actually store those objects. So first thing we're going to do is we will go into, let's close some of this stuff, these windows. And we'll go to monster control, because monster control stores all the stats for the individual monster that's getting spawned. So let's say that since you're playing as a Shinigami, that when you defeat an enemy, you can get some kind of essence from them. And that essence can then give you a buff against additional encounters. So let's call it, I guess it really doesn't matter. We'll say red essence. Green essence. Blue essence. And we'll just save that. Now we need to actually store this somewhere. So the way we do that is we're going to create more text objects that will store this name, but the object will be clickable. You'll be able to click on it, and then that lets you actually use the object. And then the object gets removed from the inventory. So we need to track the inventory positions, and let's also make it stackable, that if you get 3 of the same essence, they can be stored in the same inventory location. You don't have to use multiple locations. So let's make this a string since it's going to be a word. Call it INV SLOT 1. And it'll just be blank by default. And we'll just do the 3 slots for now, but once we've completed this, it'll be easy enough to scale this out. So rather than making 3, you could make 6. Rather than making 3 objects to store those 3 names, you would make 6, that kind of thing. And now what we're going to do is to make it stackable. Is we need to have separate variables that store how many of those you have. So this is saying what object is inventory slot 1. This is saying how many are in that inventory slot. So 3 inventory slots to store the names of the objects, and then 3 numbers to store how many of those you have in each slot. And then if you want to get really complicated, you could also create an upper limit that it can only hold just so many. We'll save that. Now nothing really to save, because again we're just creating variables to store information. Now we need to have a way of checking to see if an inventory slot is available. So let's make one change to what we just did. We will actually default these to a blank value. Now we need to look at So instantiated battle, hero total XP. Okay, so what we need to do here is you've won the battle, so this is really where you should get the object. So this is where we're going to check for inventory. So if it was inventory slot 1, and this is why we set it to a blank, so we can compare it to that value. So we'll do this right. Don't want to take any shortcuts that might mess it up. So this is pretty straightforward. If inventory slot 1 is empty, then inventory slot 1 is going to be set to the enemy item. But we need something else to be done. We need to increase the quantity, because if you recall, this inventory slot and then there's inventory amount. That way it's stackable, because if we don't do this, then it's not stackable. And we'll just do a simple increment of 1. Now, we have to do this for the other 2 slots. So if slot 2 is blank, then inventory slot 2 should be set to that, and inventory slot 2 total should be set to that. So really just a case of rinse and repeat. That really no need to go through all the details, because it's exactly the same premise, just being checked for the next sequential variable. And right now there should never be an issue where it can't store all the items, but what would happen is you could actually put an else statement here, that if it's going through all 3, then you could have inventory full, item lost. So still really nothing to look at, nothing to really run yet. So let's go to our battle scene. And what we want to do is we're going to create inventory items. Since we're just using a text name, we're going to use our good old standby of text meshes. We'll call this inventory 1, and we will add to it text mesh. Typical prep we have to do, reduce that. I usually use 0.15 or 0.2. Font size, kind of guesswork at this point, and then the font. And now what we do is actually, in this case, let's have this default to the word empty. Just copy this 3 times, and then we change the name. And let's recycle some graphics. Let's use our good old HUD again. Drag and drop that into here. And we will attach the 3 objects as part of the HUD. So this is going to become a prefab, and so what's going to happen is the HUD gets instantiated, and it's going to have the 3 inventory slots. By default, they're going to say empty. And let's take care of a few things now. Let's put this at, let's do that similar to the other menu objects. So let's make the HUD itself 8, and then we're going to add the script to these that make them 9. Let's see if we can do that now. So by the way, if you click on a script, it'll show it over here, not in any really great format, but you can peruse it to see if this is the script that you want. So I can use this because it brings the object to sorting order 9, which is what we want, and it very explicitly checks object name to determine functionality. So it's looking like didn't work, so we'll just drag and drop onto all 3. Now they all should have the bring to top. And now let's run it like this. Okay, so they're all on top of each other. So first let's slide that over. Let's slide this one down and over. And slide this one down even more and over. Okay, so down more and over. And then what I'll do is I'll give them all the same x coordinate, and then make them the same distance between each other with the y coordinate. Just trying to eyeball this at first. Yeah, that was pretty terrible. Okay, that's something we can work with. So that top one is looking pretty good. So that is at, let's see if we can just make that -1 even. Not bad, and the height separating them is almost okay. So let's make that 0.65. So that changes by 0.4. So this would be -0.2. Excellent. And now let's take that and turn it into a prefab. And again, since they're child to a parent, you just drag the parent and all the children come with it,